people, yeah, my body. And I asked them, well, I've had the privilege, we have a program in the States called the Wounded Warrior Project, where we take care of veterans of war. And it's not propagating war, but it is taking care of the people who did choose to fight and were wounded. And I don't know how many come out of that not wounded, at least up in here. And we lived in the Rocky Mountains, and in one of the programs, we would take amputees snow skiing. And maybe you've seen it, they strap them in a chair, and they've got a single ski, and these guys are out there. They have no body from here down. It's just here up. And so my question, blind. They're skiing blind. I can barely ski with my eyes open. Not true. I'm pretty good. But these people, their courage and their process and who they are being, when you get to sit down and have lunch with these people. So my question, is that half of a human being? Because they only have half of a body? Of course not. So it's very quick that you can have a dialogue around, we're not our body, right? So who's the driver? Who's the driver? So I'm aware when I'm serving that I'm adjusting car and driver. And just to have that distinction. And mainly driver. Right? We've heard it. Where your mind goes, your ass will follow. So you wanted to hear a little bit about where I come from and how I ended up here in the demonstration. So I grew up in what I call a mild medical model. I had an older brother, 3 years older, and he used to beat the snot out of me regularly. And so we didn't run to the hospital every time I got a cut or anything. Maybe some of the cuts needed stitches, but we butterflied it up pretty good, and it did fine. But in a mild way, if you have this, you take this. If you have this, you take this. Because that's what is marketed to us in the States. We have tons of pharmaceutical industries and medical industries marketing to us through commercials and advertisings everywhere. Because it's massive. Do you know that, I believe it's just in the United States, that the pharmaceutical industry spends more in a year on advertising their drugs than the entire global chiropractic profession grosses in a year. Whew. They spend more on advertising in 1 year than every single chiropractor on the planet brings in total. Not what they net after expenses and taxes and all that. What they gross. That's pretty massive, isn't it? So it brings me to one. I'm going to go back to Marietta for a moment, or in a moment. Who is familiar with the 80-20 rule? Go ahead.
80% of the person who are adjusted are being adjusted by 20% of the chiropractor.
Cool. Basically, anything that you could kind of tell me, it's going to probably fit into the 80-20. Does that make sense? It's like it's a rule. It's the 80-20 rule. What I want to bring to your attention is 80% of the planet are not astute. And 20% of the planet, the people on the planet, are astute. A-S-T-U-T-E. We're using the term astute, and I'll tell you what I mean by astute. An astute soul or being has a complete inner knowingness that there is a higher power, a greater organizing intelligence in everything, and that we are all connected. And from the plants and the birds tides, it all has a perfect rhythm, and that we are all connected to it. And astute ones have an absolute knowingness. Does that mean that they can explain it really well? No. But they have an internal knowingness. So that's 20%. 80%, they might have a concept. They might have watched a YouTube video and saw a thing, be like, or watched an Oprah episode and said, that makes sense. I get that. Intellectually, educatedly, yeah, that makes sense. But they don't have an internal knowingness. You guys following me? So it's always good for me to remember this, especially when I'm communicating something as grand as the principle of chiropractic, which is actually could not be more simple. Now, a lot of people in this room, most likely, who are attracted to chiropractic are astute. There is an internal knowingness that we're all connected. And that there is a, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call this all-pervasive, omniscient, omnipresent power, organizing intelligence, that's what's up. Now, a lot of people would say, that's why the world's messed up, because 80% of the people don't really get it. It's the 20% who are not living their authentic life. That's why the world is like this. So, this is a call. Step up. Right? Be your truth. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so that's a quick little side note on the 80-20 rule, okay? And that is going to tie into how we communicate, on how we communicate, and maybe we can come up with some ideas tonight on how to communicate more effectively. Who is in 4th year? So you guys are out in the public attracting real people with real lives into the clinic to serve them, yes? Okay. Have you come across any frustrations doing that? Okay. If you're in practice, raise your hand. Higher. Higher. So to all you 4th year, join the club of the challenges and frustrations that we can experience. There's a couple of chairs over here too. You out? And there's one more up there.
2 more.
So let's maybe dive in a little bit tonight. I really don't have much of an agenda, and I want some of your challenges and frustrations to come forth so I can possibly lend some help and some wisdom and some experience to that. Would that be cool? Great. So now, when I was a kid, school and I did not get along at all. I was in detention more than I was actually in the classroom. I got suspended off of every school bus I ever rode. And eventually, when you get suspended enough times, they actually expel you from the school bus, and you are no longer allowed on the school bus. And I always had a rebel mentality and questioned a lot. And school, it was tough. But my consciousness, in looking back, was expanding fairly rapidly. And I might have had some help from my friends, with the shenanigans they were into, helping that. And I told the story, I believe, at some point this week. It's all kind of blurry to me. But when I was 17, I was managing a coffee house. And someone asked me what I knew about chiropractic. And I said nothing. And she said, well, and invited me to come and get adjusted. Okay. Who she was being when she enrolled me in that, her lips could be doing this, but it was like, I'm in. I'm in. When who you are being speaks so loudly, they cannot even hear the words you're saying. So I told one of the classes, this may seem like a 5-year process to get a degree. It's a 5-year process to find out who you are. And to clear yourself and become so centered and grounded in your mission, vision, and purpose that all you have to do is be in the presence of people and they line up. Their cells do this. And it's like, yes, whatever you've got, I want. And it becomes very attractive. And when your vision is so solid, there's a chair over here if you want it. 2 of them, actually.
Thank you.
This is my friend Gary. Okay. You got that? In the communication. So she was clear, because she was clear in her vision of serving people. More people. Setting them free. We'll have a whole neurological, physiological, biochemical talk about how that works when you adjust somebody. There's piles and piles and piles of research which show how the chiropractic adjustments sets people's asses free. They do less drugs. They bully people less. They don't kill themselves. They don't kick the dog. They're nicer to their children. They trust their body. They trust life. They don't run to hide symptoms. They look out for each other. You guys getting the point here? If you ever have insomnia, please read the research. I sleep really good, so I don't need it. I have a knowingness with every fiber of my being what goes down. And I'll tell you this too, I don't know shit. I don't have a freaking clue the magnitude of what goes down when we serve another human being through chiropractic. And I don't need to. I just like results. I like little kids going from wheelchairs to walkers to walking sticks to nothing. And now when she gets off the table and I go to do this, she slaps my hand away. I got it, Doc. And I love it. I love it. I don't need some nerdy research article to tell me how awesome that is. Or that what the adjustment did for that little girl and their family. I don't need it. Some people are super nerds and nerd out on it. That's good. My recommendation is don't talk to those people like that. Because the mom of little Perrin doesn't care about any of the stuff. She just wants her daughter to have the best life possible. You follow? It works in ways that we can never understand, even though there's piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of research. I tell people I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, which I consider in the States the chiropractic mecca, because we have a university where we have thousands of DC students. And when I let them know that's where I received an adjustment from this woman who was so clear in her conviction and vision, it blew my world up. My consciousness had been expanding, but this like brought it all together. And when I tell them it happened in Atlanta, I invite them to guess who was the person who adjusted me. They're like, Sid Williams. They're like, Sigafus. Fred Barge. They start touting all these giants in the profession, right? Who it must have been. for me to have such a pivotal experience where it set me on a course that I've been on my whole life ever since, to serve chiropractic? Well, it was a third-year student at Life University. Cool. It was a third-year student. She was in her, I don't even know if she was in an outpatient clinic yet. She had the blue coat. But, and I'm glad Blue's not here. But she said, Wade, what do you know about chiropractic? I said, nothing. She says, I adjust people for free at my house on Sundays. I invite you to come on your break. I said, I'm there. So she might not have even been in an outpatient clinic yet. She just said, I have my own clinic. It's called my house. And I have clear nights. I have adjusting nights. She didn't even say this much. She said like very few words. I showed up, and there were, and I was a bit hippie-ish. So I'm hanging with it. Okay. Pile of shoes by the front door. I kind of peek in. I smell the incense and sage burning. There's candlelight and low light. There's funky music going on. There's tables in the living room and the dining room and the kitchen. There's people on the tables, doing the wave and all this stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? Hey. But something was like, you're in the right place. And she greeted me, long blonde hair, just hugs, hugs, hugs. I'm like, I'm loving this, I think. And so it was my turn to get on the table. And how many of you are working on your health talks? Going out and speaking to people? Yeah, can be a challenge, yes? Here's what I say. Let me tell you, and her name was Penny, and still, well, it's actually not still Penny, she changed it to Shima. Because I tracked her down. And I thanked her. She thought I was stalking her. I was, back then, I just want to say thank you. And here was her chiropractic lay lecture. Take it in, remember it. She said, Wade, through life, we become desensitized to our bodies and our life. I am going to help you become resensitized. Face down. So when it gets real complicated, just remember how simple it can be. Remember how simple it can be. And then she made these light contacts on my butt and on my neck, and I felt these ripples go through me. It was like I was a pond and she was dropping pebbles into it, and these ripples went through my system. Whew. That was a change, right? I found out later, because I thought all chiropractors were beautiful, long, blonde-haired girls with flowy dresses giving hugs, touching you gently on the butt. So I knew I was going to Life University in my hometown of Marietta, Georgia, right? But I put it in my pocket because I was only 17, and in the States we do 4 years of undergrad before we do our graduate 4 years at chiropractic. So I went about just doing what I did and whatnot, and I won't skip the part that 2 weeks into my senior year of high school, I dropped out of school. I wasn't having it. I'll go back even further. When I was in elementary or middle school, they gave me Ritalin. Who knows what Ritalin is? Yeah, what's the equivalent here in
Yeah, it's Ritalin.
It's Ritalin.
Pronunciation.
Say again?
It's just pronunciation, I guess. It's
Okay.
Ritalin. I guess. French.
Ritalin. Right. Which is essentially, it's essentially methamphetamines for children. It is. It's one like carbon bond away from meth. And in the States, I'm glad it's not so pervasive over here, all the kids are on this stuff. Adderall, Ritalin, and all these psychotrophic drugs. Why? because the child doesn't want to sit still in class for 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, right? And wants to eat garbage and sugar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're not minding their manners. Here's your drugs, go to sleep, kid. It does different stuff. Well, I didn't know I was such a chiropractor when I was in elementary school, because guess what? I pretended to take it for 2 years. I threw it down the drain. This was before I knew in middle school and high school, other kids actually would have bought them from me. Oh my God, wait till you get to chiropractic school. They'll pay big bucks for that Adderall so they can study for days on end. Interesting side note.
We better not all be doing that.
Yeah, what she said. She's obviously a pusher. So I dropped out of high school because I was anti-establishment, I guess. And I got in a Volkswagen camper van, and I went on a months-long trek around the U.S., going to all the parks and mountains and doing wonderful free hippie things, and learned about life. And I got home, I said, okay, I'll go back. And I went to a different accelerated place and got my degree. Then I got back in said Volkswagen camper van and continued on all around the country until finally it's time to go to college and do what it takes to get to chiropractic school. My whole life in school, me and school did not get along at all. I got kicked out of every class, every bus, everything. Grades were just enough. And I get to, now I know I'm a chiropractor. When I told my mother, Mom, I'm 17, I'm a chiropractor. She goes, are you sure? Because she knew that was 8 years of college and a lot of money. So as she has always been my protector and wise sage, she's just like, oh honey, do you know what you're getting into? You and school, not so yummy together. And that's a whole lot of it. I was like, it's done. I don't care. Whatever it takes, that's what I'm doing. I'm a chiropractor. And so my first semester in undergrad, same thing. I butt heads with the teachers. My grades, it wasn't very good. And I didn't have any Joe Dispenza YouTube videos. We didn't have YouTube. I didn't have any self-help things or whatnot, but I remember I sat down with myself and I had a conversation. And I simply changed my mind. I said I'm amazing at school. All of the teachers love me. It's easy. And we could do a whole other talk on what happened in that with the subconscious belief system on who I was. But I was on the dean's list, academic stars from then on. So that was pretty interesting. So please do reinvent yourself often and make life more easy for you. Okay, so that's a little bit about where I come from. Now I found out later that Penny was doing network spiral analysis. So that was that's what I had focus on, was I got to learn what she was doing because it transformed my life. So Gary knows, back when I began school, when I showed up saying, where's the network class? They were like, we don't do voodoo here. Right? I was like, what are you talking about? That's a beautiful thing, what that is. What I don't get it. Right? But I was naive to the different arguments and fights within chiropractic. Isn't that funny? Same thing going on out here. Right? Upper cervical only. Right? No, Logan basic only. Everything else is rubbish. Come on, really? You guys don't have to get into those infightings of the profession. Now, so we had a lot of wonderful Atlanta, Georgia, just like you guys. I'm looking at the flyers around town. You guys have some amazing chiropractors coming through. So lean on them. I asked the class on Monday, one of the classes, what is chiropractic? And there was a long bit of silence. A long bit of silence. So be okay with that. And don't be okay with that. So maybe you can write something on your mirror at home. Just the question, what is chiropractic? And watch. Have you ever noticed that when people ask you that, when you tell them that you go to this school, or your family, and the next thing your cousin you're talking to, and they ask what is chiropractic, next thing your uncle's coming, what's chiropractic? You notice how you kind of say it differently every time? For some people that drives them crazy. Who's that drive crazy? Drives you crazy? Right? Where did chiropractic come from? The universe? What?
An energetician healer. Didi was it?
D.D. Palmer. Okay.
Magnetic heater.
Magnetic healer, yeah.
Channeling. Gary says it was channeled.
Midwest United States.
The Midwest United States. So if it came from the Midwest United States, what does it mean to have cave paintings in Egypt with people putting hands on the spine, adjusting the spine? Join us. You follow? So I ask people, when was the principle of chiropractic born? Anybody else? When was the principle of chiropractic born?
China.
Say? 1903. Right? I like. What's your name? Gideon. Day one, he says. I didn't say when was the profession of chiropractic organized into a science, philosophy, and art where we apply the principle by hand to allow for XYZ. I said when was the principle?
Forever.
Or forever. Forever. Who owns the principle?
All of us.
I got a sharp bunch here, don't we, Emma? Many times. Who owns it? Chiropractic! We own this! Eric, what? Really? Is that true? How old is the principle? Forever. Right? So it's good to have perspective on what we claim to. Right? Anybody can invoke the principle. Right? We have a blessing that D.D. Palmer channeled the principles known as chiropractic that he then was working on and organizing a long time ago. I don't know about you, but when I hear somebody channel, does everybody know what a channel or a medium is? Right? Anybody ever had a session with a channel or a medium? I recommend it. It's pretty wild and intense, awesome stuff. And so chiropractic, the principle, came from spirit. So do you think that something from the spiritual realm is actually meant for us to be able to put under our thumb? That's it. Nope. Nope. There you go. Oh, God, there it is. Oh, there. Look. It's life. It's dynamic. Right? Is it a particle or a wave? Depends on who's looking and when and how. Right? Sorry. Should we have some really tried and true ways in which to express chiropractic to the lay public? Yes. But maybe whoever's in front of us allows us, when we are so solid in the philosophy and the foundations and the principles, to bring forth out of us as an artist of communication before you ever get to the art of adjusting, to shapeshift and mold with whoever's there to be a mirror, to see them, to hear them, find out what they want in life, and help them understand that chiropractic is one of the most powerful things ever brought here to this plane of existence to help them experience it. So it's okay. I always invite people, make friends with uncertainty. Uh-oh. Hi, uncertainty. Will you be my friend? You know, there are lots of seminars that preach certainty. We will give you certainty. Follow? And you want it, don't you? She's like, yes, please, I want certainty. My invitation is for you to seek clarity. Clarity. And be okay and know the fact that you are ever changing, growing, and evolving. Because I am perfectly okay if I've been doing a health talk, a lay lecture, a health awareness seminar twice a week for the last 8 years. I am perfectly okay that what I say 6 months from now might be totally different. I'm okay with that. Do you know some people are not okay with that? Because then they have a belief system, a story. Well, then I'll be a liar. Well, then I'll be like I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, no. Don't you watch the scientific community do it every freaking day? Mm-hmm. Oh, we thought it was this. It's not this. It's this. Next quarter. Oh, we thought it was this. It's not that. It's this. The super nerds in the scientific community, they're fine with it. Why wouldn't we be fine with it? Some people are clinging to the manual from 1942 being like, nope, that's how it works. That's chiropractic. Right? Let me ask you this. Does the principle change? I'm starting to argue that a little bit, but I'll save that for a different lecture. And that's in the Why We Were Born in the First Place lecture. Which will be different a year from now, won't it? But it's my current understanding. Does the application of the principle change?
Yes.
It's ever evolving. It's ever evolving. Isn't that cool? As you are. Every time you get adjusted. That's cool. Every day you live. You don't have to get adjusted. Can you be a fully self-realized human being without ever getting adjusted?
Yes.
I got a no.
Yes.
I got a yes. Well, which is it? I question everything. It's just my nature. And I think that makes us great chiropractors when we do that. Question, question, question. So that's a good question to have. Can we look back and certainly see that people who have made massive impact of elevating the consciousness on this planet never even heard of a chiropractor? Is that true? I would agree. I found out the other day that Gandhi had a chiropractor. Because I would use Gandhi, I would use other people as examples. I'm like, I don't know that they ever got adjusted. I found out Gandhi did get adjusted. So that's kind of cool. I'll try to remember who that source was, because it traced back and it was legit. I don't take stuff just kind of hearsay too often, but it was like, hey, you know who this chiropractor was down the line. So, what is chiropractic? And Bar knows what I'm going to do. ABCs. Let's make it super easy. And then, depending on who's in front of us and which situation we're in, we can really just dive deep into it. So, when I was in school, I was moving and shaking. And I was the president of several clubs, the founder of a couple more, and was just, you know, I was pulling on my reeds here. I couldn't be stopped. I wanted all of it. I wanted it now. If they didn't have a club for it, I invented the club for it. We wrote policy. We changed stuff. We raised money. We did fundraisers. We started I say we, me, and I enrolled another teacher. I was like, will you do this with me? He's like, I'll sign off on it. And we had this discussion in the class the other day because someone was like, oh, chiropractors charge too much money. What about the poor people and everything? I said, well, close your mouth, get your table, and go serve. Because this ain't doing nothing. You're just bitching about how unfair stuff is. Well, go show me something. So we created a mission, life outreach mission group. And we went to women's battered women's shelters and adjusted these moms and their kids. It didn't exist. I wanted to see it happening, so we created it. New policy. Then it started. Is that cool? Look what you can do with chiropractic. You want to go serve? Pick a group. Go do it. You're all leaders now. So start leading. Yeah? Your community is counting on you. Whatever community you are in, a lot of you don't even know. Guess what? That community, things are happening right now that we cannot even freaking imagine to set the stage for your arrival. And you don't even know where it is yet. Is that cool? And scary. Yeah? In this perfection and synchronicity and serendipity of life, which isn't that in tune with the chiropractic principle. Stuff's happening right now, preparing for you to go there and serve. And your community needs you. And they need you to be true badasses who understand the principle, understand the philosophy, and certainly know how to deliver the goods. But what I've seen, largely, we have gotten so art heavy. Whether it's MLS, whether it is the other myriad of wonderful chiropractic programs who came out of MLS and branched out and are serving on very, very high levels of adjusting skills. Art, 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 art. And guess what we have right now, all around the world, people who went through those programs and became the most amazing adjusters ever. They're sitting alone in their offices and they're the best damn adjuster that nobody knows about. Because they didn't do philosophy, they didn't do the science, they didn't do communication, and they didn't do business. All they focused on was how to clear the neurospinal system through the adjustment. And now, they can do it, but they ain't got nobody to do it on. Because they left the other pieces behind. You guys getting this? And you realize I'm here to teach the art this weekend? But I'm telling you, you got to be well-rounded. Do not get so heavy on the art that you forget about how to enroll other human beings on how to receive your gift. That might be the biggest message for today. Right? You agree, Debbie? Yeah. So on campus, people would commonly say, Wade, you're messing this up, man. Spirituality has no place in chiropractic. I realize I'm probably teaching to the choir. I would say, oh, okay, cool, John. Well, oh yeah, John, who, by the way, was wearing a tie and his clinic jacket. I'm like, isn't clinic on Wednesday? Chiropractor. I say, what's the major premise? Somebody, what's the major premise?
Universal intelligence is in all matter, thus giving it all its action and poverty. Thus giving it, thus maintaining it in existence.
could have told me that, yes?
Yes.
Yes! So I asked Buddy, who's like, spirituality has no place in chiropractic. You cut it out. You're going to mess it up for all of us. My daddy's not going to accept me. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Gosh, I can't. Remind me of the major premise, right? Stevenson's textbook, right? He says, look, there's a universal intelligence in all matter, constantly giving up all its properties and actions, thus maintaining an existence. I was like, oh, yeah, that's it. What did you just tell me? What might other people call it? You just called it universal intelligence. What might other people call it? Spirit. I don't care. A rose is a rose, no matter what you call it. So how do we break that major premise down into real plain English? You know how I do it? I'm from the South. From Atlanta, Georgia.
Here it goes.
That's how y'all live.
Saddle up.
Body's real smart. Body is. That's going to be why Proper grammar, optional. ABCs, chiropractic. When they say, what is chiropractic? You're like, oh man, well, there's, you see, there are these matrices of energetic vortices through the tetrahedral fractals of spiritual universities inside of our souls. And the spinal column is basically the temple of which houses the... I prefer body's real smart. Yep. Now, what kind of state do you think people are in around the city?
Stressed.
You guys are good. Y'all even just got it
I
even
was going to
shorter.
say New York.
Life
It's the same.
can be, and that's putting it nicely. A, body's real smart. B, life can be stressful, throws our body and our life out of balance. Now here's where you come in. What solution do you have to that challenge? You guys are good. Now, for all of those of you who prefer the explanation that I was giving earlier, it's okay. Know that, feel that, believe that, and be able to deliver that when you serve them. But it's possible, just for ease of communication, the ABCs, body's real smart. Life is stressful, can throw us out of balance. Chiropractic can help bring you back to balance. Thanks, God. And then do your fractal geometry. Cool? Do it really well with amazing artistry. But learn how to communicate so that you have somebody on your table in the first place so that they can be more free, awaken to their purpose and their awesomeness, and so that they can light somebody else, light somebody else, light somebody else, and light somebody else. And then you got a lot of people coming in. And then if you ask them what is chiropractic, they can tell you. They can tell you. But for the most part, I go to a lot of fourth-year chiropractic students and I ask the class, what's chiropractic? And they're all like, don't pick me, don't pick me. I have no idea. And now, perhaps you're more okay with that. And perhaps it's time for a return to spiritual chiropractic. That's where it came from. That's where it came from. And we have all these amazing people who have dedicated their lives to understanding the science of applying the philosophy through our hands and all of the amazing stuff that happens for people's lives. It's just incredible. That's not my gift, right? But I'm real glad that Arno had Sue right here, sometimes Donnie and Lou, and all these amazing, brilliant people to teach us. And their gift was breaking it down into all these parameters and protocols. How do we monitor this? How do we bring this to them? But let's communicate it. And once this gets going, my urge to you, what I have found to be perhaps one of the biggest detriments to the growth of chiropractic, side note, it's all happening the way it should be. Everybody's playing their part and everybody's doing their role. If currently more people were meant to receive chiropractic on this planet, there would be. There would be. So trust the process. At the same time, always striving to better ourselves and to be grounded in it, to be confident in it. Where was I? I wanted you to pin me there. That all of the brilliant people who came before us, we have all this wonderful stuff to learn and grow from. And now, my invitation is to stop trying to get the public to want what you want. And as a chiropractor, we take so much clinical diagnosis and treatment that we go out there and try to convince people that what they want is more neurospinal integrity. And maybe they could care less about that. Is it perfectly awesome for you to care about that? Because you know that having that will end up in them having what they want, which is I feel ashamed that I come home and I kick the dog because I don't like who I am anymore. If I even have a glimpse of who I am anymore. And if this keeps persisting, if this keeps persisting in my life, then certainly I will be a failure in life and just a waste of space. Or for some, I'll just be a worthless piece of shit, just like my dad said I was. What has that got to do with the vagus nerve? Everything and nothing. We can collect and geek out about all this stuff, but if you want the people to receive all of this beautiful wisdom that you are working so hard on, find out what they want. Ask better questions and zip your head and listen. And they'll tell you. And then guess what? Everything you do in your office becomes a means for them to get what they want. Not for their posture to do this, or whatever other clinical stuff you're into, or for the nervoscope to clear. Then you know what their entire internal dialogue is like? She gets me. Yep, I'm bringing my family and my cousin. Man, if you get me, you'll get her so well. I love it. She gets me. Versus, okay, I think I understand that chart of nerves and wires and guts and intestines on the chart. And now we're doing an exam, right? What we do is we're checking in here, right, to make sure that short fuse you came in here telling us that you have, that's going to resolve really nice of making sure we get this sorted out. That's why we're doing this. The scope, right? So this is just going to help us make sure that whatever the cause of those headaches are, that your body's going to be able to heal it. That's why we're doing this. You follow? Well, the temperature variability of the EMG readings on my nervous scope is, if that's not balanced out, then that means you have capillary malfunction because, don't you know, the sympathetic nervous system is... They don't care. That's what I'm finding. Is it cool? It's super cool. Clear it out? Yes, clear it out. But maybe, and just try it, experiment with it. That the reason you've got a nervous scope, or whatever you're going to do, is to help them get what they want. Find out what they want. Is that a cool conversation? Isn't that liberating in a way? It's freeing. You don't have to get them to want those charts, right? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. About ready to wrap up? Great. So, my wish for you, Amber's been in the practice. Gabby, you've been in the practice. Yeah. Was it fun?
It was a blast.
It was a blast. Do you want every day in your life to be a blast? Right? Some days will be challenging and all this stuff. But here's the thing. People get wheeled into my office. They get carried into my office. They skip into my office. They come in like this into my office, just like everybody else. And we have a blast. Because I'm not trying to fix them. I'm not trying to fix them. I'm asking fourth-year students, what's chiropractic? And they go, oh God, don't pick me. You're really going to tell them so brilliantly in 2 minutes in their report of findings or your health talk what it is, and you're so much better than all of your instructors and all of your books and all your colleagues and all your seminars that they're actually going to get it from you in 2 minutes? They're not. It's okay. Give them months or years to understand the depth of what you understand and will understand. For your family, even for your office staff, it's likely they will never understand what you understand. It's okay. But as long as you know what they want, and they know that you're a solution for their challenges in life, they're cool. They're more than cool. They will write you love letters. They will bring you their newborn babies and hand them to you. You follow? Why the need for them to get it? You get it. You get them. And just serve them. Pure chiropractic. Without trying to fix them, I see one of the main challenges is you're going years to get essentially med school with a side of chiropractic, especially in the States. I think it's a little different here. But it's 4 years of med school with an elective of chiropractic. And it's very confusing. And so they borrow $250,000 in the U.S. for chiropractic school. So I've borrowed $250,000. I've spent 4 years of my life going through clinical diagnosis and treatment. And wait a minute, you're telling me that with my table and my two hands, that they can come in, I'll serve them, and they'll walk out with exactly what they walked in with, but I'm going to ask them to stop by the front desk and drop off some money? Yes. That's a head trip for most of you. So next thing you know, there's walls full of supplements and pillows and shoes, or now CBD, that's all the rage.
No.
Every clinic's got to have CBD. And so they can walk out with a shopping bag. Whew, that, I can feel better about them dropping off some money if they can walk out with a shopping bag. Now, do I have a pantry full of supplements at the house that my wife spends obscene amounts of money on? Yes, I do. It's not my practice. I'm not a nutritionist. Am I probably more educated than most nutritionists out there? That's very possible too. I'm a chiropractor. I serve chiropractic. So in a large way, in the way, I'm obedient to the principle. I don't add more confusion. Right? And they may come in with a headache or something like that, and they might walk out with a headache. But guess what? They're okay with it because they know we are helping them on their healing process. And I'm not flinching in the face of the symptom. Right? Because I understand the physiology of the symptoms. And all they need to know is like a child with the parent, is that they're safe and that we're okay? Yes, we're okay. Got it. That's all the kid wants. That structure, that safety of knowing this. And help guide them as leaders. As leaders. Hello. Workshop time.
Yes.
Beautiful. I've been stalling for you.
Have you?
Yes. I wanted to end an hour ago. A couple of mantras. These are a few mantras I'm going to offer up to close out. I invite you. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I don't know shit.
I don't know shit.
Shoot! How relieving. Right? You know? I mean, I'm walking through the park and I see this helicopter thing. I broke it in my pocket. But I've had it in my pocket for 2 days now. And it's going through the air, right? And they're doing the helicopter. And if the breeze is blowing, you see how far they can travel? It just blows my mind. And I'm pretty sure the design of this and whatever you want to call it created this just like it created you in the perfect way to say, hey, I don't know what soil this needs to be in, so I'm going to give it a wing. Which, by the way, is the same wing that we designed our wings off of. We just copied nature. That air conditioner is a copy of nature. Everything is a copy of nature. And it actually bathed it in the right biochemistry that it would possibly need in order to stay a fertile seed. And it gave it wings. Is that so cool? It's like all around us, right? And what's in the bigness of the fellow within? On page, it might even be page 33. It's chapter 33. And the last bit that BJ said, and you have more faith in a spoonful of medicine than the power that created the living world. People aren't looking for more treatments to make them feel better. People are yearning and craving to feel more. And if you have a safe environment to guide them and lead them, for them to be safe and feeling more, that's what they're wanting. Walgreens, or whatever pharmacia, is much cheaper than you. If your intent is to help them like you or accept you because you will take away their pain, do them a favor. Send them to the pharmacy and tell them to get some drugs. It's much cheaper. You'd be doing them a favor. They can save money. Rather than saying I'm something, but then doing something else. It's not fun. I've seen it in people. They don't sleep good at night. They might drive the newest Mercedes, but they don't sleep good. It's weird. It's a contradiction. And there's no need, because they want what you got. So communicate. You'll love them up.